Hey team, what's up? So this is another introductory video. So if you're brand new to the site, this is pretty new for you, but I believe this is version 9. Yeah, so it's been quite a lot of install videos over time. Reason is because there's been a lot of features and updates and some things have changed. So just understand that you can install this on Ubuntu or Debian. So this version, we're gonna go ahead and install this on Ubuntu. Just to help you a little bit before you spend a lot of money on a machine, test this on a virtual machine or use Hetzner Cloud. And I'm not advertising Hetzner Cloud. I use it all the time. It's actually what I'm using for the demo. You get a dedicated IPv4. You pay €1 penny per hour, and you pay no more than like €249 per month. So you can leave it on the whole time, and you're good to go. Or you can shut it off and pay €5 pennies a month. So yeah, please feel free to test this program on that. And the reason I say this is because I don't want you purchasing some $400 outlandish server in Ireland that nobody's heard about, because we've had members do that. So so people usually want the biggest and best. So obviously you're here on the website, so either you're on the wiki or you're on the main page. But in order to install Plex Guide, you need to click Install Plex Guide, and that'll land you to these instructions here. Just make sure that you sign up as a member. That's the only way you can see the page. And the reason for that is because it allows us to provide you tech support, all kinds of other things. It just makes life a lot easier. I'm gonna go ahead and just pause this real quick. All right, so welcome back. So I went ahead and started the installer for the program. So don't let this fool you with this whole Debian. It's just the name of the machine. This is just a trash VM. So right now what it's doing is installing pretty much like a pre-staging script. So basically this just allows everything to install smoothly. So basically it's just doing updating. It's going to install Ansible a little bit, a few components, and then just kind of get everything downloaded and ready to go. But yeah, it's pretty much dead simple. Plex Guide used to have a blue interface and menu interfaces and all Ansible interfaces. We went through many changes, but over time we kind of realized the core of what to kind of make, for the installer to make this process a lot easier for you. So while this is installing, should almost be done. So while this is installing, just be mindful of disk space. That's things that a lot of people don't pay attention to. You don't want to get a 40 gig VM. A lot of people who have this G Suite edition, people who have like 100 terabyte plus Plex servers can easily run like 40 to 80 gigs metadata. I know I'm running around like 65. So if your metadata alone is going to eat up all your disk space and you don't have enough, it's going to be a painful day for you. We do have a second HD option. Again, a lot of this stuff I'll kind of talk about when we get to that process. Okay, so it looks like it's cloning it, and it's downloading kind of like the newest base installer copy for us, so that makes it easy. See, so install the Plex Guide command. If the Plex Guide command fails, which it's almost impossible, the only way it's failing is because you have a bad operating system, something that's just completely unsupported. So I built some sanity checks into this program. So if it's failing on you, trust me, it's a reason. And again, what I tell people is if things are failing, please install, a virtual machine or use something else. All right, looks like I got to fix some alignment stuff here. But anyways, long story short, let's go ahead and install 8.35. So thanks, 7. It looks like you changed some stuff around. I'm one of those people who gets kind of like, hey, everything's got to look good and line up, right? Like this. Okay, so right now you're going to come across 3 different editions. Eventually down the road, I believe we're going to have the ability just where it just installs and kind of ignores this. In reality, when you install this, it's basically installing all the same thing. They just have different functions. So the G Drive edition is the one that most people are going to install. This is the one where all your stuff bounces from your computer, goes to your Google Drive, and then Plex and Emby and Jellyfin and whatever else you got is going to, everything's just going to sit on your Google Drive. The great thing about Google Drive is that you're going to have a 25-day snapshot, so you don't have to worry about making multiple backups, and you can run multiple servers off the same drive. For some of you who just want to run a small Plex server, you got Solo HD, and that's going to be like you can run a small VM, and you may only have like a few things to download and just something for you to catch up on. Or this might be something like a laptop or a home server you have with like a 4 terabyte disk, and you just want to run a small server. The Multi-HD edition, this basically merges all your drives. Just understand that you need to be a little bit advanced with this because you're going to have to basically set up your hard drives. So Basically, Plex Guide can't do that. You know, it's the whole F tab, and yeah, it's just a lot of work. So this is only for advanced users. And then these two do not install the Google Drive piece. So like I said, make the choice right. If you don't, you're going to have to rerun this installer again. And the reason for it is because we just don't want things boxing up. But eventually, when it's all consolidated down and the options kind of tailor around that, it makes life easy. Okay, so right now it's updating again, right? Pretty simple. So just make sure it's not missing out on anything. It's doing some linking. Trying to think what else off the top of my head. If you see a Docker PY module error missing kind of thing, probably bad virtual machine or bad image you're running, something beyond our control. I'm trying to think of some other useful tips. Maybe a little bit about how the data moves. So long story short, we're using mergerfs. You're going to see a thing called unionfs. We didn't change the name to keep everything simple. But long story short, any data that comes in will bounce to mount unionfs. And what happens is you have a Google Drive and you have a Team Drive if you decide to do the Team Drive. Those are read-only. So when you're downloading data, it never directly installs to those. It never goes to G Drive and T Drive. It goes to UnionFS. Think of UnionFS, or technically MergerFS, as like a shadow drive or a fake drive. UnionFS is like, oh, G Drive's read only, T Drive's read only. So mount move, oh, look at that, you're readable. So we have an area called mount move. All your data ends up there, and then rclone, which is another program, kicks in and uploads your data accordingly to your Google Drive or T Drive. Yeah, no, I wish the data could just, you know, it's like Windows, you know, it goes to Google Drive and it just goes there. But the reason you need that merge drive is that it's just the way everything works. If you point things to your Google Drive or your Team Drive, it's a bad day because they're read-only, so your files never upload. And we've had a few users who did that. Okay, so it looks like mergerfs is installing right now. And yeah, this was a fun script to write because it's basically detecting what version you're running, Debian, Ubuntu. So right now, this is Ubuntu 18. It works for Ubuntu 16, and it does work for Debian 9. So, but yeah, that's just a little bit about mergerfs, unionfs. And again, read the wiki, kind of, you know, watch the videos in that area, because it's going to seem a little confusing at first, but over time, you're going to understand why it's set up like that. And to be honest with you, before I understood Linux, I ran into this issue with Windows. So I wanted to push stuff to the Google Drive. The Google Drive was insanely slow, so I wanted to do Google File Stream, and I wanted to do Team Drives. There's just a whole bunch of things I wanted to do, including my local drives, and I needed to merge it all. So that whole merging concept is something I actually pulled from Windows and applied it to Linux. So it's pretty neat how it works. So again, all the data bounced to mount UnionFS, pushes the mount move because technically it's the only readable drive, and then from there it uploads via rclone. And again, you're going to get used to all these different programs. So rclone is basically our big puppy, our big baby, that does a lot of moving of files. Okay, so it looks like what we got going on here. So it looks like Docker is installing. Okay, so a little bit about Docker, and I recommend for you to watch the videos in the area, but think of Docker as mini virtual machines. So what happens is all your programs are going to run in virtualized containers, pretend machines, whatever you want to call it. So the great thing about Docker containers is that when they run, they think they are the only program running in their own environment, which is great. You don't run into dependency hell. So if you uninstall something from your main computer, the Docker containers don't care. To be honest with you, I think Plex runs like an Alpine Linux, or I can't remember what version of Linux it is. But there are different Docker containers that runs on different versions of Linux. But because you have Docker installed on your system, it doesn't matter, right? So it's like I said, when I started Plex Guide, it was a document, and then from there, I was like, hey, there's got to be an easier way, because every time I installed something, Linux was just breaking, and then the kernels and the upkeep and the different machines, it was just all a freaking pain. So it was a nightmare. So once I discovered Docker, it was like that aha moment. So kind of became obsessed with it. It took me like 2 months to understand it. If you type Docker right now and you kind of Google things, you will see a bunch of short blogs, and they kind of explain it and they don't explain it. That's part of the reason why Plex Guide exists. So it's a consolidation of all this crap. So it looks like installing a Docker fix. Okay, what's installing now? Okay, it's doing some more updates. Be aware as a tip, if you ever if you deploy Plex and a whole bunch of stuff, then you do your mounts, you're going to need to reboot your containers. Just be aware that when your containers start, if they don't see the mounts, they won't see the mounts the entire time. So some people kind of run into that issue. That's what that Docker fix is for, is to reboot, but that only works when your system reboots. So, okay. The cool thing about PlexGuide 2 is in here we installed some cloud virtual machine instances that deploy. So right now, this is a Hetzner virtual machine. From PlexGuide, I can deploy another Hetzner machine. So all I have to do is plug in my API, go through the menus, and bam, I got another virtual machine that works perfectly for testing. And it's good for you, right? You know, you may decide to do some upgrades or test some stuff for PlexGuide and do some modifications. So we have that, and then we have the Google GCE. A lot of people went overboard with it. So some dude, I think he's managed to get like 15 terabytes a day or 6, kind of pissing off the indexers, right? So, I'm surprised Google hit him up, and they think that he's like crypto mining. But Google GCE is a pain to manually deploy, but guess what? We make it easy for you. You follow our menu, you plug in your keys and in your stuff, and you can deploy. You can use Google's $300 of free credit to get a gig line, gig up and gig down. The machine lasts for about usually like 2 months. So if you're starting PlexGuide and you're trying to catch up your collection, well, guess what? Use the $300 credits, deploy to Google containers, and bam, you're in business. And then the cool thing is you can redeploy another container. So I mean, not redeploy another container, but when you're out of credits, you can redo it again. So right here, this is your server ID. Please keep it all lowercase, one word. And the reason is because this is what identifies your server for backup or restore purposes. Don't name it the same server you had before if you backed up or restored. So I'm gonna just call this test dummy. So I hope you understand. Just again, keep that simple. Watchtower. What this does is when your containers update, there's an update for the containers. It automatically reboots the container and updates it for you. The reason I put the ability to not deploy it is because there have been times where Plex sent out a botched version of an image. It's insanely rare. It reboots and all your stuff's screwed. So I gave you the option to not do that. This right here is the second disk interface. So this took some work over time. So right now, remember, this is just a machine VM, but it says, hey, you got 3 gigs, 19 gigs of space. So the thing is, even if you have like a terabyte SSD, the thing is you don't want your main server to be bogged down, right, with all the unpacking and moving of your files and everything. So that's where this /mount comes into play. For 99, well, I'll say like 95% of you, you're not going to mess with this. You're not going to change the disk. But if you have a second disk or some RAID or some NAS, you're going to offload stuff too. Then you're going to put the new path. And what happens is everything is going to be based off that. So right now we're going to do no. So you can see in this program, we do provide you a lot of options and flexibility, and you'll be surprised how painful that was. So, and again, this program was really designed to help noobs. Like I said, 15 months ago, 16 months ago, I barely knew a lick of Linux, and I was getting yelled at everybody on Reddit for asking simple questions. If you type Reddit and you type admin9705, you'll see me posting like craziness from back then. But again, it was just a willingness to learn and just wanting to create a solution to something. Everybody's very generic and stiff, and you'll be surprised like how many stiff coders are out there. So if you go to our homepage, you notice that we have quite a amount of good stars, which I appreciate everybody helping. 161 forks. So what that means is that a lot of people like to take our program and fork it. We also have 58 contributors, and when looking at our contributors here, again, without these individuals, PlexGuide wouldn't be what it is today, because each person, no matter how small, has made different things. He was responsible originally for enhancing pgblitz, Mix fixed up coding. Robert Baker is responsible for adding the merger FS. The creator is the one why we have reverse proxies. Flicker Rate just really took off with the project. He's actually the reason why you see that fancy PlexGuide logo when you log off. To Q, she's on vacation for an extended time, but she was my partner in crime when we first started. She kept trying to add the encryption, and I was going nuts with it. And yeah, it took us like 2 months to really figure out the whole Union FS, and it was just a nightmare. So just a quick rundown of the program, but because there's going to be other videos on it. Trafic is your reverse proxy. So long story short, this actually deploys as a Docker container, and this will actually provide you subdomain access. So you could type, portainer.yourdomain.com. Trafic uses the version 2 ACME protocols, whatever you want to call it. Long story short, if, for example, you have like GoDaddy or some user that's listed on there and you plug in their information, what happens is when it's done, PlexGuide will reboot all your containers, and each of your containers will have an HTTPS certificate. Yeah, just like that. So you'll have HTTPS, portainer.domain.com, HTTPS plexdomain.com. So there's a lot of cool things that you'll have. PG Defense, what this will do is this will install PG Shield with PortGuard. So the thing is, PlexGuide is basically set up where, like for example, I could take this IP type 9000 and get the Portainer. So you can close your ports, and then what PG Shield does is you need to have Trafic working, your subdomains, but long story short, you'll have to log in through Google's authentication. So it provides like an extra layer of shield for all your containers, right? Yeah, it's pretty cool. You may have to see that if you haven't. If you logged into Google and you see that whole, hey, you need to verify yourself, basically that's it. So imagine going to your program and it does that. But once you're authenticated and you're logged into Google, you can go to all your apps and not have to retype your password and over again. PG Box is where you're going to install all your applications. So we got two types. We got PG Box Core, PG Box Community. Core is the main programs we focus on. Community is like what a lot of others assist in adding. They're kind of like third-party focus or secondary focus. And the good thing is PlexGuide is very modular. So if you notice we go to PlexGuide Core, it's going to ask you, do you want to deploy PlexGuide's version or do you want to deploy your forked version? You want to deploy your forked version, look how easy this is. All you have to do is add your username and branch and then do deploy, and it will deploy your own version. So if you want net data to use port 20,000, that's all you got to do. Just fork the core, fork the community, and then make the change and deploy that. So PlexGuide is very modular. So Trafic is modular right now too. So so basically it's broken down. So if I go here, just to kind of show you an idea, wiki, and you notice our wiki is expansive. It's a nightmare to keep up with, but you'll notice here, see, these are different repos that you can fork. So I just want to give you a quick rundown. The Port PG Press. So again, the purpose is just to install video. This does WordPress containers, builds websites out for you. Awesome, right? So the container is independent of the other containers, so you can build all the websites you want. So you can build, cars.mywhatever.com, and you can set your containers to the top level domain. So if you have a domain like cars.com, you type it, it'll go to that WordPress instance, and it has its own backup. The GCEs, the cloud stuff that I was talking about, remember the Hetzner Cloud? We do have random tools here to assist you. So PG Patrol, you could set that up. Long story short, users on, or same user of different IPs, it'll kick people off. PG Track, it'll blow up your Sonar and Radar. It takes forever to type movies and TV shows in Radar and Sonar. So guess what? Run PG Track, run a few commands, and then let this bad boy go. And next thing you know, you'll have like 2,000 things sitting in Sonar and a 50 terabyte backlog. So whether that's good or bad, it's like your choice. You do have the ability to install your own VPN. So it's not a VPN like the Torrent or anything like that. You can actually turn your remote server into a VPN. So, if you got, a Hetzner Cloud and, you do the, you set up your VPN here, like I connect that, all my data that's on this computer will float to that cloud instance. So you don't have to pay for like NordVPN or those other VPNs that you see advertised out there. Plus you own the server. So you know that it's good. So unless you got poor security practice all over it. So we have the ability where you can bench your system, uninstall, and then and then if you need to change that download path, you can do that again. You can enhance your processors, Watchtower if you need to change it, and then change the server time. Honestly, if I were you, this is like one of the first things I would do. The reason is because if you live in the States and you got a server in Germany, there's a 6 to 7 hour difference. And this is bad because what happens is if you say, hey, I want all my programs to back up at 2 o'clock in the morning, in reality, they're going to back up at 8 o'clock at night, and your Plex is going to reboot and you're going to get all pissed off. So if you go into PlexGuide, that's one of the first things I'll do. So all you have to do is type Z to exit, and that's pretty much it. So you notice all you have to do is type PlexGuide, and bam, it's up for you again. You type PG update, and you could pick whatever version you want. In 7, I'm gonna kill you. That misalignment is just driving me crazy. I'll have to fix that. If you need to look for different versions that are not listed here, you could type that, and then you could type that in. Because if you type a non-existent version, like let me type 999, right? See, it's not gonna do anything. The fact you box it up it's not gonna mess up Plex Guide. And then look at the extra commands. So I don't have Union FS and all installed, but if I type S Union FS, S Union FS, you see how it says the service cannot be found. But the point is that the service was running, it would give me a status. So I don't have to type sudo systemctl. If I type N Union FS, it allows me to nano it. See right there? So check out the wiki, go through it. You know, hopefully you get a lot of good information. There's more YouTube videos that breaks all this stuff down. And I do apologize. I tried to talk as fast as I could because I just wanted to give you a mini introduction. Again, this is the install video. If you want to check out the introduction video, it will have more information where I'll kind of go through each thing a little bit more, and I'll talk about like how Plex Guide's found and all that good stuff. So other than that, feel free to, like I said, join the forum, join the site, donate, join the Discord. Like I said, this is all community-based. None of this would exist without the community. Again, even though you're installing something that provides you a service, you're going to learn a lot out of Linux, and I think that's going to be the biggest benefit of all. So, because I was like the most anti-Linux person ever. Like, I'm super Apple, and the funny thing is Apple gave me appreciation of it. But anyways, I need to quit rambling. I'll let you go. You have an outstanding day. Later.